Okay, Dawn. So we'll continue with the missive of Ab Amon to his Greek student Porphyry in response to Porphyry's questions and statements. And so we'll continue from where we left off the last time. By Meyer, therefore, understand everything corporeal formed and material, or that which is nutritive and prolific, or such as the material species of nature is, which is borne along in conjunction with the unstable flux of matter, or a thing of such a kind as that which the river of generation receives, and which subsides together with it, or the primordial cause of the elements, and of all the powers distributed about the elements, and which must be antecedently conceived to exist, analogous to a foundation. Being therefore a thing of this kind, the God who is the cause of generation, of all nature, and of all the powers in the elements, as transcending these, and as being immaterial, incorporeal, and supernatural, unbegotten and impartible, wholly derived from himself and concealed in himself. This God precedes all things and comprehends all things in himself. So, but he's telling Porphyry, he's giving Porphyry a base knowledge of how things come into existence, or from a highly philosophical and mystic perspective. All matter, firstly, matter appears to be stable and solid. However, upon close examination, I mean, close examination by the mind, because matter can be examined closely by scientific instruments, such as particle accelerator experiments, where subparticles are smashed together and reveal smaller, more minute particles. And therefore, it reveals such a tendency of the insubstantial stability of matter. However, you can go deeper into matter with the mind. The mind can go places where scientific instruments cannot go. And so scientific instruments are limited in their capacity to explore matter, regardless of the minute nature of the revelations of, say, particle accelerator experiments. The mind can go into deeper, more minute levels. And that's why scientists are confounded about dark matter, the Higgs boson, and things like that. Because they're using scientific instruments to try to uncover a mystery that is only available to the mind, but a mind that is highly trained through spiritual practice, such as concentration exercises and certain meditations and certain metaphysical exercises that are actually delineated in hieroglyphic texts. So obviously, Ab Amun is coming from a perspective of exploration through the mind, because at this time, there are no particle accelerators, There are no double slit experiments. There are none of that. There's only the mind. So the mystery of matter is revealed by the mystery of the mind. And so he's revealing to his student that matter is unstable, is essentially insubstantial, in the kind of remember the old theory of the proton circling around the electron circling around the proton and the nucleus of the atom. So if that is spinning and going around and moving and moving and moving, means that matter is not solid. And then later you have experiments and revelations by Albert Einstein and people like this concerning the relativity of nature and matter. But these revelations were made thousands of years before by the spiritual sages. So Ab Amun lived thousands of years before Einstein came on the scene. So he's revealing that, or sharing that matter is insubstantial, and that whatever is generated in the realm of time and space is what he's referring to as corporeal, meaning manifestation, meaning of available to the senses, to the perception of the senses. So that which becomes available to the senses due to its very nature of corporeality eventually dissolves back into the what he referred to as a river of generation, meaning the essence from which the material phenomena has emerged from. Recall that Abamun started this talking about the the symbols and the importance of symbols. So what he's revealing here now is the outcome in the mind of this, from the study of the symbols and the nature of the symbols themselves. So if an image of a deity emerges from the river of generation with its tendency to dissolve into that river of generation, it means that there is something of that deity that is the same as the river of generation. Whatever it has emerged from, it is the very same nature of that thing. So if you don't have symbols to train the mind, you'll not be able to gain access to the source from which the symbol has emerged from. But you need proper symbols. You need symbols that are arranged in a certain particular way that reveals certain secrets to the mind, which leads the mind to its own eventual dissolution. So you just can't use anything. You have to use, you have to create, and that's why they're created by sages. They have to be created in a certain particular way that reveals firstly insights, and then those insights lead to mystic union with the source of the symbols. So here he's going at another level, as they say, in explaining to the student the importance of the mystic symbols and what the mystic symbols lead to. And since all matter subsides in the primordial cause of the elements, meaning the essence from which causes the elements to appear and then become available to instruments or the senses primarily, because the instruments only augment the senses. So, for example, you may not see the dog star, but if you have a powerful instrument, powerful telescope, they might be able to see the dog star. So all the instrument does is augment the power of the senses, the limited human senses. But that augmentation in the study of the nature of things can only go so far. Eventually, you're going to need a well-trained mind through spiritual discipline to gain deep and profound insight into the nature of things and events and how things and events are actually tied to Arya, which is a Kemetic term for the Hindu term karma that has become popular in the West. The elements contain certain energies, forces, and powers. For example, gravity itself has a certain power. Vitamin C has a certain power. Photons being emitted from the sun, each individual photon has certain powers conjoined to them. Yeah, all of the vitamins have certain powers that are associated with the molecules of those vitamins, vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, whatever. Similarly, each individual photon of light has a certain particular power, has a certain particular type of energy associated with it. Similarly, the the molecules of plants, of trees, of animals, etc., ad infinitum. These primarily unseen forces or powers or the effects of these unseen forces and powers. Because you really can't see gravity, but you can see the effects of gravity, etc., are derived also from a source of generation. So all of the elements, all of the powers, all of the forces are not contained within the element itself. But as the element arises, so from the source of generation, so does the powers of those elements, and then conjoined to those forces and energies. And if you take vitamin C, then some of that power is available for your body to maintain health, etc. Thus, these forces, powers, the elements themselves, when he says antecedently conceived to exist, analogous to a foundation, he's relating to a source that is the basis from which the elements have emerged from. So, in other words, there's nothing that exists that is not sustained by an underlying mystic reality. And you can call that, as he referred to here, as God. But the word, probably the word that was used that has become translated to God was probably a netter or nebeger. And then in translation, it becomes God. Because the the term God in the Western philosophical idea does not hold the same philosophical basis as the term Nebuchadnezzar in the ancient Egyptian language, Kemetic language. God in the Western context is relating to a monotheistic ideal. There's a certain entity, usually male, that is the overseer of creation of nature. If you pray to that God can uh, give you boons or gifts or get involved in human activities. You know, that's the Western ideal and the Western practice. That's what you see. A baseball player goes to bat and he makes a prayer to God, he can get a hit. And the pitcher is standing on the mound and he makes a prayer to God that he can throw a strike. So who's God going to listen to? However, if you have the term Nebuchadnezzar, which means all-encompassing divinity or divinity of the utmost limits, we're not talking about a single person, a God who is referred to as he, who is jealous and angry and can cause destructions and floods and all this kind of thing. We're talking about an all-pervasive underlying mystical reality that is beyond name and form. It's transcendent of human reason, is beyond the realm of conception. And it is all-encompassing and is the basis, the foundation of all manifestation. So whatever clothes you're wearing right now, that's God is right there. You're looking at another person, another human being, God is right there. You're looking at animals, God is there. Not as separate from the shirt on your back, the person you're looking at, the animal, they don't have separate gods. It's the one underlying essence that is the support for all manifestation, everything that becomes apparent to the senses. And that's why you cannot say that the ancient Egyptians at any time, even during the time of Akhenaten, had a monotheistic idea or concept of divinity. Because if Akhenaten had a monotheistic concept of divinity, his hymns would not work. His hymns will not be, it'll be a vast mass contradiction. So it cannot be monotheistic. So the term God here is being translated from a mystical term in the ancient Egyptian language that reveals the underlying spiritual reality of everything. And that's why racism is stupid because there's God there. That person that you are racist to is one with God and you're one with God. But since the mind is so ignorant, all you see is someone that you have been conditioned to hate because of the color of their skin, the texture of their hair, or whatever it is. And that is referred to as ignorance. So it's trying to share with Porphyry that this, what you, that you have to become seated in this mystical idea, this mystical concept that all of matter has as its basis, its foundation, an underlying spiritual reality. And that underlying spiritual reality is the source from which the matter emerges and is the primordial essence from which that matter essentially dissolves eventually over time. So we'll end it here. There's more to say about this, and we'll come back next week and treat it further. So dua everyone, and dua for another wonderful devotion. Until we meet again, hit